Welcome to the PT Marketing Power Hour, highlighting successful marketing strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. We have another great episode today, so don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, here's your host, physical therapist, marketing expert, and CEO of Practice Promotions, Neil Trickett.
Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the PT Marketing Power Hour, highlighting successful marketing strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today's focus, we're going to talk about how you can build long-term relationships with physicians and the community in your area, and then also like how to really build your PT marketing team. So I'm really honored to have a special guest with us today, Mitch Bell, who's the marketing director for Madden and Gilbert Physical Therapy. This is Chad Madden with Breakthrough's signature clinics. And Mitch is the man that makes it all happen with the marketing director. So welcome, Mitch. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So today, let's talk here. Let's share with the group some of the things that have been working for you in terms of your strategy, what you found to work for building long-term relationships with physicians and referral groups. What's been working for you?
Well, it's kind of funny. So pre-COVID, we were a company that less than 10% of our total patient base came from a direct physician referral. We kind of had that mindset that, hey, hospital systems are moving in, they're buying up all the little guys, they have their own PT. That direct referral relationship is kind of done with. So that's what made us go direct to consumer. Now, what we found is after COVID, we're at the point where 25% of our total patient base is a direct physician referral. So our strategies had to change a little bit. Since I've been with Madden PT now going on 7 years. And the entire time I've been here, we've never stepped foot in a doctor's office.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Usually it's the flip side, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy for us because so now with this influx, we're trying to really capitalize on our strengths, which is at this point, it's the physician referrals, and really start to facilitate stronger relationships with them. Mm-hmm. So what we did is we actually hired, her name's Tracy. She is our referral specialist now. So her job is visiting these offices, setting up meetings between our PTs and these doctors, and just really strengthening that overall relationship. What's really cool with her, though, is she's coming from big pharma. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep. Mm-hmm. And ethically and morally, she didn't like what they were asking her to do. And at that time, her and her husband were looking to start a family. So she was a stay-at-home mom role for the past 15 years. And now that the kids are older, she's looking to get back into doing that type of stuff, but wants to do something she's more passionate about. So it's pretty much the same job for her, just selling a different product.
Yeah. The best product, right?
Exactly. Not biased.
Yeah, but you're not biased at all. But let's talk here about the strategy part of it, because I think this is where a lot of practices, they usually fall into one camp. And this, I just have seen this with thousands of different practices. And that is that they are too heavy on physician referrals. And it's really fascinating because in your practice, you're kind of went the other way, right? Where you got very heavy on direct to consumer marketing and then realized there was still an opportunity here with physician marketing. So I think for our audience out there, it's important to look at the percentages of where your new patients are coming from. And if you're more than 50% of your referrals coming from referrals from doctors, you're putting yourself in a dangerous position from a company, because if they get bought out by a hospital system and they have to do internal referrals, or they retire, or whatever may happen to that doctor or their doctor group, you're putting more of your eggs in one basket. But if you can have a very diverse way of marketing, where you can bring people in from the community digitally through your website. You can do workshops, bringing people into the community. You can do a lot with your patient referral programs and get people to send other people to you. And then you also develop your network of physicians referring to you. Then you have a very strong marketing plan and diversity in the way that you're getting new patients that protects the clinic and allows growth. So I think that you've really tapped into that potential now. And like what's happening in those clinics?
Yeah, I mean, now, so there's, like you were alluding to, there's really 3 different ways that you can get new patients. And that's, your past patients and garnishing those prior relationships. There's you can market direct to the consumer, going out to the public, and then your physicians. Yeah, I mean, all of our locations right now, it's kind of funny, like the newer clinics, the de novo clinics that open up, they tend to be more heavily, reliant on the physician referrals, the direct to consumer advertising, the workshops, things like that. Whereas our more established locations, it's kind of the other way. It's more past patient focused. I think our Harrisburg location, which is our main location, I think the last I looked, about 60% of our business comes from past patients and past patients sending their friends and family to us. Yeah. So huge chunk from that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful to be in that the type of diversity there. I think too, what you just brought up a great point, and that is we see this sometimes too with a clinic owner that says, hey, I'm big enough, I've done well in my one clinic, I want to start opening up another location, or I have 2 locations that are doing okay, I want to open up that 3rd location. And they don't necessarily estimate the correct amount of effort it's going to take to get that new location up and running and off the ground, because it's like starting a new business. And that's a great point, because you don't have the established patient list or your customer list to work with in that new location. You really have to get more physician referrals. You have to do a lot more workshops and events in the community and really push it from a marketing standpoint. So, you've definitely, mastered that, I think, in being able to, because you have so many processes happening with direct to consumer, you're able to make those clinics really get off the ground fast, develop the physician referral relationships in the area, and then your customer list starts to build, and then it starts to gain more and more momentum. So that's really, really cool to hear that. And again, I think where a lot of practices might struggle is that direct to consumer model. So that makes it tougher to get a new location up off the ground. So Mitch, tell me a little bit about how you at Madden and Gilbert PT, how do you market effectively to physicians?
So prior to COVID, we kind of were doing the bare minimum at that time. So we write what's called a green ink letter. So it's really just a little index card with our therapist picture on it. And every single new patient that comes through, our therapist will write a letter to the referring doctor, basically just a little thank you note. Thanks for the referral and the opportunity to treat them. Here's kind of what we saw in the eval today. I think they'll do well with PT. I'll keep you updated. And then we would mail them out. We also used to do a physician newsletter, which is pretty much, it was just a sheet of paper, a normal 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. One side was a testimonial. The other side was kind of it was a more educated article that used bigger, fancier PT words. So it's different language than what we would write to a patient. And that's about all we would do. And when COVID hit, that was one of the first things that we stopped doing, just because at the time, it wasn't a big draw of new patients for us. So we didn't want to waste the extra money in our marketing budget when we really needed to double down on what really was working at the time. And then come January this year, we started up with you guys then, and we started the physician newsletter, did a whole new redesign with it. And ever since then, it's just really taken off. And I noticed it's a noticeable difference every month when that mailer hits, we get a huge influx of physician referrals coming in. So we love it. And now with visiting the doctor's offices on top of that, it's great.
Yeah, that's really cool. So if for everybody out there, if you haven't attended a breakthrough event or done any of Chad's courses through breakthrough, they do teach a lot about like how to do these green ink letters and different types of processes you can do for your marketing. So you should definitely check out breakthrough. They're very good for that and the different systems that they have in place. And then, coming back to our physician newsletter, this is a core thing that every practice should be doing. And a lot of practices start to shy away from direct mail. They don't think it works that much anymore. But guess what? It actually works better now than it ever has before, because everybody's digital and they're not paying as much attention to digital because they're inundated with emails and all kinds of stuff. But when they get something through the mail, you actually have a very different physical response, right? It has substance to it. It's in your face. You have to handle it. And at least, you're getting your branding or some kind of headline in front of your audience. And in the clinic, in the doctor's office itself, it's not usually the doctor that you're trying to connect with. It's the nurse, it's the medical assistant, it's the referral person in the office that sends the patients out, decides where they go. So they don't know about you, right? And they don't necessarily know about any of the services that you would be able to help with. But starting to get that kind of information in front of them, it's just a way to have more reach and open that up. So we do see, quite success with physician newsletters. It takes a little bit of repetition in that to get going. And if you have someone like Tracy, right, who's going out and making personal connections too, it's a great way to have kind of this two-pronged attack where you're able to get in front of them through mail, right? And then you're also able to hand deliver those types of materials and have conversations with the referral people in the offices. So it's something we did a lot in our practice. I've gone out and visited thousands of doctors over the years when I had my practice. So I very much have been in Tracy's shoes, and I'm sure you've done a bunch of that too, Mitch, going out and knocking on doctors' doors and meeting a lot of people. But it's nice to have something new to talk about when you go, right? So you can have those kind of printed materials that help to start a conversation and say, hey, do you have patients with any of this kind of stuff? And it really gets the ball rolling. So that's great to hear those kind of results. I think you had a couple numbers behind it too, right? Like in terms of like how many referrals you got before and after you started doing that?
Yeah. So pre-COVID, in a typical quarter, we could expect about, just at our Harrisburg location, we could expect about 34 direct physician referrals any given time. This past quarter, just at our Harrisburg location, we actually got 96.
Wow.
So we've tripled our quarterly physician referrals. And really the only things we've implemented is a new look to the physician newsletter, new designs, and adding in Tracy, who really just started last month. So that's still a pretty new thing too.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. That's awesome. So obviously there's a lot of successful actions that can be done there to doctors. I think one thing too, I don't know if Tracy does this for you guys yet, but this worked really well in our practice. And so if I was going out or our marketing director was going out, and especially to doctors that knew us or had referred somewhat to us, what we would try and do is set up like a lunch and learn. And basically I never invited the doctor. I said, hey, would you like us to help the nurse or the medical assistant? We could do a little 10-minute seminar, and if they would like to know if you get someone with a shoulder pain, how to distinguish between an impingement in the shoulder or a rotator cuff problem, would that be helpful for you? And they're like, sure, yeah. So you'd set the lunch up in premise of, hey, I'm going to give a short presentation how you can look at some things clinically here in the practice. The doctor would always come in, and then like you're actually educating them on like some simple things they can look for in the clinic. Like, okay, if it's, and this was great for internal medicine doctors, primary care doctors, if you're looking for sciatica versus nerve root impingement, things like that, and just give them some simple tests to do. And what it did was really cool is that it elevated the perception of what you offered. No longer were you like a pharma rep or someone who's just coming in looking for a referral. You were someone who they could trust that they take care of your patient, right? So that was something that was very helpful. And always after those, we got a flurry of referrals from those particular doctors. And it works really well, especially for primary care internal medicine doctors.
Yeah. I think what's crazy with we've been doing the lunch and learns as well, and I think probably the biggest thing we've learned so far is that so many physicians have no idea what PT actually is and what we do. They think it's just exercises on the table and that's it. And
yeah,
so it's cool like getting the chance to show them, hey, here's some quick balance screens you can do in the clinic that take 2 minutes of your time. Yeah. Or here's a shoulder test or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that's important as a practice owner. You have to have that mindset. Like, people don't know what I do. So I have to start with the basics, not try to be fancy, not try to have all like crazy words I'm going to tell them all about, because they don't understand that. Like, let me give them the basics and some things that can help them. And I always remember being in one of those lunch and learns, and the doctor is like, oh yeah, what's this motion again? I'm like, abduction. I'm thinking in my head, like, oh my God. Right. So it just realized, like, in terms of their training, they're not trained to look at musculoskeletal movement, right? That's our specialty. They're look at the biochemical model, right? So everything has to be, with a test or a pill or an injection. That's just what they've been taught. So introducing them to some simple concepts there is really eye-opening. And thanks for sharing your experience with that, because that's really funny. All right. So there's definitely a lot that can be done there to improve doctor relationships and get more doctors referring to you. But how do you, because at your practice, you really mastered this, but like, how do you leverage marketing to the community and that go to direct to consumer model, while educating the public and the healthcare options that are available to them?
Yeah. So for us, our main way of reaching out to the general public is in the form of our educational workshops. We have a bunch of different workshops geared around different body parts. And then we go through each body part and kind of list out, hey, these are some things that can really cause it. And by the end of it, the goal is to have everybody in the room kind of put themselves in one of these categories of like, maybe my shoulder is due to impingement. Maybe I have arthritis. Maybe I have a labral tear or whatever. And then at the end of it, they kind of, they decide for themselves, am I ready to get started with PT right now and actually handle this pain? Or, should I keep ignoring it and just suffer through the pain and get injections, take medications, and maybe undergo a surgery? So that's been a huge, huge asset to helping us reach out to the general public.
So could you explain a little bit more like how that works with workshops? Because I know a lot of our audience has heard of workshops and maybe they've even done one, but there's really a science and an art to the whole flow of that workshop that you can definitely learn through Breakthrough. They're really amazing at teaching you how to do that successfully. But obviously your clinics have always been the pilot for all these different tests and programs and dialing it in. But so like, what's kind of the stages of the methodology for those workshops and bringing people into that decision process that you're the right choice?
Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest part about the workshops that I think PTs and practice owners don't think about is the actual content that you're presenting on, like your medical content. It's important, but what makes PT very cool, and for like a patient's mindset, you're having a patient come in 2-3 times a week. They might spend an hour each appointment with you. So they have to kind of like you to spend 3 hours of their time with you. Mm-hmm. So for us, we've really found that the more personable and like social and joking and funny and outgoing that our PTs can be while they're presenting this information to them, those are typically the better converting workshops where more people want to sign up. Really, the main purpose of it is just establishing rapport with the people in the room, hearing them out. I mean, think of the last time you've gone to your primary care doctor. I mean, you might be lucky to have them in the room with you for 10 minutes, and you might see them once a year, and do they even know who you are or anything about you? Mm-hmm. Whereas with these workshops, it's really a time to get to know all of those strangers in the room and make them feel like they've known you for a long time, all while educating them on what's going on with them. And by the end of it, they're just ready to come in because they like you so much as a person. You've taught them something new, and nobody's ever spent that amount of time with them. No other healthcare practitioner has spent that much time with them and understands kind of where they're coming from with everything.
Yeah. And they work so well. And you need that platform to really have some time to be able to spend with someone and really educate them, like, you know, about their body. And then there are solutions to help you with your pain or your problem. And you know, at Madden PT, you guys use a lot of different media channels and different types of marketing to get people to the workshops. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So one of our goals within our marketing team is to own the media. So what that means is whether you're on Facebook or online, whatever, whether you're getting your mail out of your mailbox, listening to the radio, watching TV, reading the newspaper, our goal is that you are seeing Madden PT somewhere. I feel like for each of our workshops, at least for our Harrisburg location, we use about 5 or 6 different media types advertising these things. And even our smaller locations, like our Hershey clinic is our newest location, and they have at least 2 or 3 that they're advertising in, and they just opened up in April. So really it's owning the media is the real key there, and just really diversifying how you reach out and how you market these events in your practice in the community.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, you just hit the nail on the head there. And it's again, something as a practice owner, right? Something you have to learn in the marketing mindset is that you have to look at, you know, multi-channel marketing. And that just means that you're not just using one thing to get someone in the door. And that's usually where marketing campaigns flop, right? Is that they put all their eggs in one basket. They think, hey, Facebook is going to save everything for me, right? No, there's only a finite, you know, people interacting with Facebook certain times, percentages of people, who's in your area, like, what are they doing? Are they looking at cat videos? Are they looking at you? Like they have to come in. Facebook's a great medium, but it's not the only thing. And if they see something on Facebook, but then they get something in the mail, and then maybe they opted in for something on your website, and now they're getting an email from you, there's multiple interactions that start to happen with that prospective patient out there, and they start to build their level of trust and start to investigate you. But again, time and time again, when I see practice owners say, oh, that didn't work for me, it's usually because they only tried one way. And it's just like in PT. If you think that just one type of treatment technique is going to fix everything, it's not, right? You need a different tool set of all different types of techniques to get a great outcome for a patient, you know, with a shoulder or a back problem or knee problem. That's why we go to school and learn all kinds of different things all the different time, because you need variety. You need to be able to, in marketing, reach them in many different ways. And so owning the media, as you say, right, is the greatest mindset to have in marketing. I love it.
Hey there, if you enjoy listening to the PT Marketing Power Hour, that probably means you're the kind of person who likes to grow their clinic fast and take control of your direct-to-patient marketing. So what if there was something you could do today that would improve your clinic's website and attract more new patients? Well, there is. Our new 10-minute website makeover workshop will teach you how to diagnose your website's problems and 5 simple actions you can take today to improve your website and attract more new patients online. We promise you don't even have to be tech savvy for this 10-minute workshop to work for you. So to access the training, just go to practicepromotions.net/PT makeover. Again, PT makeover, no spaces, no dashes. In just 10 minutes, you can learn simple changes that's going to make your website irresistible to new patients. So check it out today. And now let's get on with the show.
So again, going direct to consumer here, we're doing a lot of owning the media, doing different types of things, bringing these people into a workshop model. But we've also done some cool things with bringing people in through the digital space and through your website. So we've helped, switch up your website there. They're telling us you're getting some great results to that. Like, what made you look at that switch, and can you share some of those results that you got from improving your website?
Mm-hmm. So our previous provider that we had, they worked out really well for us when we were just we had Madden PT here in Harrisburg, and then our sister clinic, Gilbert PT, who's in Mechanicsburg. It's about 15 minutes away from where I'm at right now. it worked really well there. We were two separate companies underneath the same umbrella. And so we had two different websites. And then in 2018, we started opening up more clinics. So 2018 started up with our Dolphin office. So that was our third location. And now in 2021, we have 6 locations with 4 more on the way in the next year or two. And it just got to the point where we really needed a website provider who could make a custom website that worked for us and who could just kind of make everything a lot cleaner, neater. And, it's easy to make a website look pretty, but it's not easy to make a website work for you. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what, your team has done for us. I come in on a Monday morning and I have, 3 or 4 appointment request forms filled out from over the weekend for all of our locations. Our SEO work that, the team's done has dramatically improved and really helped us reach more people as we continue to expand and everything. So it's really been a game changer for us. And it's been nice to view our website as something other than just a check the box, like, yep, we have one, we can put it on our business cards, whatever. And now it's another tool in our arsenal that we can use to attract more people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing those wins there. And there's a couple points here. I think one is that you notice that, what got you here won't necessarily get you there. Mm-hmm. And there's times in business when we need to change, especially from a website, a digital world. Things change so fast. Things change so rapidly. It is a really good practice to update your website every 2 years. And the coding changes on the back end, how Google crawls it. Google makes 500 updates a year in terms of how they crawl websites and what they look for. So just that pace of things changing, it's really important that you do, update your website every couple of years. From the website side of things, you're right in that you can make pretty websites, but that's not the purpose of the website. The purpose of the website is it's your sales page, right? It's your storefront. Mm-hmm. It really has to first get people to it. And in order to do that, it has to have a lot of layers of the way it's built in order for it to look great in Google's eyes, right? And there's a lot of complexity that happens over time in terms of like how Google's watching how people behave on your website. So they look at how long they're staying, where they're going to. They can track everything in terms of all their behaviors. And so then they will rank practices, websites differently based off of all those behaviors that are happening. So it's something that over time you need to keep dialing in and tweaking and testing and improving. So that's an important part of like getting people to actually visit the website from your community and discover you. And then your website has to do its job of really getting someone to stop and start to captivate their interest that you're going to be the right solution for them, right? Mm-hmm. And then do its job of turning that interest into contacting you, right? So I love to hear that success from that. And so one of the things that I think also matches really well here is what you've done with your website, which is the approach, the content, the tagline that you have on the front says, get back to normal naturally without the use of medications, injections, or surgery. So I really love how you address the patient's pain very directly. And so as a marketing manager, how can you come up with those kind of clear messaging for your clinic? How'd you do that?
Well, I wish I could take that credit, but Chad and the rest of our partners have really worked extensively. How they came up with it was, they didn't even come up with it. It was our patients who came up with it. They combed through thousands of testimonials that we've had. And the phrase that kept coming up over and over and over again was get back to normal, get back to normal. So that's kind of what stuck. And, what we do is our website through, I've been meeting with Meredith, our account rep, and she, about 65% of our total website traffic is organic. So it's already people who know us and like us and trust us. So when you're dealing with organic traffic, you can be more direct with them because they already know what you're about. They know what you do. So that's why front and center on our website is get back to normal naturally. Click this button here, request an appointment. And we start off with the call to action right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all patient generated there, and we just kind of capitalized on that.
Well, that's ideal. You surveyed the public and what they wanted, what they thought about, right? What was most important to them, and you put that front and center as part of your message. And for our listeners out there, our viewers out there, I want you to look at your website right now. And if you were a patient, does it speak to you, or are you talking more about yourself? Are you talking more about your practice and how great you are and what wonderful care you provide? Because that's not what patients really care about. What they care about is, how are you going to fix me? How are you going to solve my problem, my pain? And if you're capturing that at the beginning experience of the website at the top, especially the tagline, the headline, then you're going to get much more interactions on your website. But if you're talking more just about your practice and how great you are or how different you may be, that's not going to sell people, right? That certainly can be part of your website in the experience down the page, what makes you different. But first, what are you going to do to get that person back to normal naturally, right? Which is what people really want. So yeah. I love what you've been saying there about that. So let's talk here about your marketing team, right? And what direction you've gone with that. For a lot of our practice owners out there, sometimes they're just dipping their toe into actually getting a marketing director or marketing person on board. So, can you explain a little bit like how you started out maybe as the marketing director, how your team has grown with Madden and Gilbert PT?
Yeah. So, I guess it'd be easier to start. So when I first started with Madden PT, I actually worked as a PT aide. I was kind of in that gap year applying to PT schools, thinking I wanted to be a PT. And throughout that year, like I applied, I got into a couple PT schools. I also applied for a master's in health administration program through Penn State. And then weighing the two together, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to go home at night and have to think about like, oh, Barbara's not getting any better. I don't know what to do with her. Like, so I like the administrative side better, and moved into that role. But it kind of grew from just myself, and I had another coworker, Heather, and we were both doing internal and external marketing. So external marketing is physicians, general public. Internal marketing is reaching out to your past patients and trying to reactivate them. And we only did this for our Harrisburg location, our Mechanicsburg location at the time. They did workshops, but they might have 5 people in the room. They weren't very big and they didn't market it very heavy. And then, once we started opening up our de novo clinics, it, became apparent like, hey, we need more help here. This is a bit much for 2 people. And then we hired our third marketer, and we quickly realized again, hey, it's not exactly financially feasible to have one marketer for each location that we open up. Because for these smaller satellite offices that might have, 2, maybe 3 therapists working there, realistically, it's a part-time position at that point. It doesn't take 40 hours a week to do the marketing effectively. And now our team is myself, and I have 3 external marketers. Each of them are in charge of 2 clinics. Some of them will be 3 as we open up more. We kind of have a production standard of how many workshop registrants and leads per month they're supposed to be able to work. And, they all work towards those goals and everything. And now we also have Tracy, who's our referral specialist. So we have 4 total marketers, 5 if you include myself.
Wow, that's amazing. But what's really fascinating there is just kind of looking at the growth, the progression, looking at the marketing department and how that needed to grow in order to support the organization. Can you tell me, I'd be interested to see if you have a perspective on this, but could you tell me when that first started with maybe you and Heather, right, were helping out in the marketing, like how did that help Chad?
So at that time, Chad was like, he did everything marketing. He would run the workshops. He would visit the doctor's offices. He would mail out everything. And then around that same time is when Breakthrough started up. And it was kind of a cool story. Chad was actually like I think it was like the 23rd PT that Carl, who's the CEO of Breakthrough, he's like the 23rd PT that Chad, that Carl had reached out to. And they kind of got together, and, you know, Carl's like, hey, I have a lot of marketing sales experience. He worked at Tesla and everything. And Chad's like, hey, I dabbled in some marketing in the PT world as well. And, you know, the rest is kind of history with Breakthrough forming. So I think once like we came into the picture and helped him out and could take some of that stuff off his plate, it's enabled him to focus more so on working on the business rather than working in the business. At this point, like Chad works in the office here, but he does very little actual Madden PT stuff in the office here. It's delegated out. You know, most of the marketing stuff runs through me. And if I have any kind of hiccups, issues, roadblocks, then that's when I involve Chad and he gets involved there. But just that free time and creation of free time for a practice owner is probably huge.
What you just said there was gold. You know, for a practice owner, there's this threshold, right? You're growing the business, you have some therapists on that are helping you out, but there comes this point where you're trying to like do marketing yourself, you're trying to treat patients, you're trying to handle the staff in the clinic, the billing, all the stuff that's going on, and you're holding the business back, right? Your business is only going to grow as much as you grow as a leader. And if you think that you're just a clinician at that point, you're not. You're an entrepreneur, you're a practice owner, you're a business owner. And so you need help, and marketing is one of the key functions of a business. And so where a lot of business practice owners fall into a trap is that they don't hire that marketing director soon enough because it's a cost. They look at it as a cost. It's actually an investment in the business, is getting that personnel on to make the business more money and make it grow. So it's that threshold. Like if you don't have a marketing director yet, you need to really look at like, is this the time for me to get some help? Yes, it's going to be a little bit more expense temporarily, but it should help me get to, you know, this many more patients, right? And then it'll be much more profitable. And then there comes a point, which I'm sure you've experienced, where you and Heather were like handling everything. And it's like, okay, we can't do anymore, right? We need to I need to be able to work on the business, right? And so then you need to be able to hire people like Tracy and others to come on to support you as a marketing director. And so I think that's important for practice owners out there that may have multiple locations. You got to look at that threshold where one person can't do it all. When do they need help, right? And it sounds like a very interesting evolution at Madden PT and what you've been able to create there and the team that you've been able to build. So that's fantastic. So do you have any recommendations to a PT owner if they're looking to hire that first marketing employee?
Yeah. So if you're looking to hire your first marketing employee, you can be very picky. Me personally, none of my marketers have any kind of real marketing experience. They don't have, only one of them really has a college degree. The other ones have, one has a high school diploma, one has an associate's degree. But what they all have in common is they've worked some sort of customer service type job, and they have a really good, they're just very good conversationalists on the phone. They're empathetic people, and they're just good people. My mindset when I'm hiring a new marketer is I can teach pretty much anybody the processes and the skill sets that they need in order to be successful in this position. What I can't teach them is how to be empathetic, how to be a good conversationalist, how to listen, and how to be persistent and want to learn and grow. So during my interview process, it's a very tough process just to get, a job offer. There's multiple interviews, phone screens, things like that. My team is actually involved in it. I have each candidate spend time with the team and kind of ask them, what's your day-to-day look like? How do you like this position? And then my team is simultaneously judging them because, they understand, they have that mindset of we're only going to be successful as a team if everybody else is on board, and I don't want to be picking up people's slack if they're not the right type of person for it. So my advice would be very selective and really dial in that interview process and think through, what type of person do you want in the position, not what type of skill sets or what type of experience do you want that person to have.
Yeah, great advice there. Great advice. I mean, I've seen that happen many times in practices where they bring someone in who has a marketing degree, or there's like a marketing mind skill set, or someone who's been like super experienced, and they're not the right fit for the culture, right? They don't necessarily fit there, and then they come in and try to change everything. And then that causes disasters down the road. So it is always hire to culture fit first, and that you hit the nail on the head with that. And then I think it does depend on where you're at in your clinic, right? I think your clinic is very unique in that you have Chad as a great marketing mind, and you guys developed a lot of processes over time. So you have those processes that work. You've figured them out, and then it's a matter of finding the right kind of person to come in and learn those processes. It's going to be very empathetic. So for some practices out there that don't have maybe the practice owner it hasn't done much marketing training, right? And they're kind of struggling. What direction do I need to go here? Sometimes it is good to get someone with some marketing experience coming in, but again, you still have to look for, is this person the right, personality for what we do here at our clinic? And then you can bring someone in who has, I would suggest someone who has more of a strategic mind. Like you have a very strategic mind, Mitch, right? But sometimes you have people that just say, hey, I have lots of experience in social media. I'm a great social media person. You think, great, this is going to make my practice really go. Well, that person comes in and all day long, they just sit on and post on social media. That doesn't move the needle, right? You need to get someone who can think strategically in terms of like, okay, we need to be able to do this. And if we do this process, and okay, let's look at how we're going to make workshops go, how to get my patient referral program going. So like that kind of mindset is really good to look at for your like first marketing person, and that can they think with, this is a process versus what do I like to do? What do I have fun doing at work? And I just want to, play on Facebook all day. Right. So hopefully that's good advice for our listeners out there in terms of finding that first marketing hire. And then obviously, as you have grown in your multiple locations and you've added different marketing staff, you probably look for, in terms of like Tracy, right? She's a good example. Like you knew you needed someone who was very good at had experience with talking to doctors, and you probably looked for that experience level coming in. So then she was really able to add to value to the team, and probably a little less training, right? Compared to someone who was not had that kind of background or that marketing background.
Right.
So, so Mitch, any other results you're especially proud of? Like any final thoughts here?
Yeah, honestly, just the way that my team's been growing. So at the beginning of this year, we started out with 3 marketers, and so Heather had left in December of 2020. She was in occupational therapy school, so she was moving on to her clinical phase and everything. She just passed her boards and graduated. Shout out to Heather. So she had left, and then we had another employee who just wasn't a real good culture fit. She actually ended up leaving as well. And then the third one that we had got into occupational therapy school, and it was unexpected. She was waitlisted, got in, and so she ended up leaving as well. So all 3 external marketers that we have right now have less than a year of marketing experience on their belts, and they're hitting their monthly goals, their quarterly goals. They have a thirst for learning more. So just really proud of like their progress and their willingness to learn and grow, and what they've accomplished so far with having so little experience in actually doing this.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Yeah, and I love what you said there. Thirst for knowledge. That you can't train to, right? That someone has to have that in them. And if you hire that person that has that thirst for knowledge, they're going to figure stuff out for you, right? And so I think that's a great thing that you look for, a great trait in a person that you bring on board. So Mitch, do you have any final words of advice for our listeners out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's chaotic out there, especially now. As if it wasn't crazy enough to have health systems buying up everything and losing referral sources, and then a pandemic thrown into the mix, and now you have Medicare cuts coming next year and everything like that. It's crazy, it's chaotic, but you just have to keep pushing through it and keep being persistent and consistent, and you'll get the results that you want. But just don't give up. It goes through, you have ups and downs, but you'll get through it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And it's challenge, right? It's adversity, and the people that make it through, right, are the ones that can face that and don't give up. It's having that grit. But I will say that one thing that stuck with me in practice was, like, when I first started out in practice, I didn't know anything about business. I'm like, hey, I'm going to open up my own business because I see someone else doing it and I can do it too. And you learn through a lot of hard knocks, so what to do and what not to do. But then I realized at one point, like a couple of years into practice, that, hey, I need to learn about business, right? Because I'm not a good business person. I'm a great clinician. I'm learning more about being a great clinician, but I needed to learn more about business. And as soon as I had that kind of mindset, I moved forward. And then in that business realm, I realized that I have to get really good at marketing, right? Because marketing unlocks a lot of keys in the business. If you're good at marketing, and if you're good at strategic marketing, you can always figure things out, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I really like about marketing, is that if you get really good at it, you have a lot of doors that open for you. And then you learn more about business and the growth of a business and how you handle the growth of the business. But marketing is still a really important part. So I'd say for any practice owner out there, start to learn as much as you realize that you have to learn more about marketing always as a business owner. And that's going to really empower you to get over these tough times and get through these tough times, because, you've had great examples through this whole conversation here that, you faced a lot of adversity and challenges over this last 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. But you've adapted and molded, and you've done different things, and it's worked out. And that's because, you're a great marketing director, and you've got a marketing team, and you have different marketing processes, and you have this diversity in where you're getting people from, that you can make it through these troubled waters. And that's the same for any practice out there. So thank you so much, Mitch, for all those great words. I know our listeners got a ton of great nuggets of wisdom here from you. So thank you so much for being on the call today. And to everybody out there, I'm wishing you much success. It's going to be a great end of the year, and we'll start off 2022 with a bang and really get things rocking. So thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us today. Be sure to check out practicepromotions.net/power. There, listeners can download over 9 checklists and free resources made to coach you through simple, proven marketing actions to increase new patients. So check it out today. That's practicepromotions.net/power, and I'll see you next time.